Okay, so let's go over instructions for assignment 1 for our first SolidWorks model. So first thing we need to talk about is the remind you about the file naming scheme. And so the file naming scheme, as we talked before, goes like this. We're going to put down the first 3 letters of the file name are going to be the campus, so NRG for Northridge. And then the next 3 digits are going to be class number that I gave you the first day of class. And then 2 more digits for your 2-digit student ID that I gave you the first day of class. And then we'll do a -01 since this is assignment 1. So we'll use that numbering scheme throughout the semester, so I'll be able to tell whose assignment is whose and also which assignment it is. Okay, so once we got that straightened out, you're going to need to go to your favorite browser and go find a data sheet for this part number, McMaster car bolt. And there's a screenshot of the PDF file, so you want to download that data sheet, put it in your assignment 1 folder. And so that gives you the information about the size of all the features you'll need. Now we're not going to make a full manufacturing model with all the champers and the fillets and the threads, all the intimate features. We're going to do a very simplified assembly design model. It's only going to have 3 features. And the 3 features will include, first feature will be the hex bolt. We're going to sketch this shape right here, and we're going to extrude it to make the hex head. That'll be feature 1. And then feature 2 is going to be the unthreaded shank of the bolt, which is right here. And then we'll do a third extrude that will represent the threaded portion of the bolt, which is down here at the bottom. So only 3 features, no chamfers, no fillets, just 3 simple features for our part model. Now let's talk about how we're going to orient the planes. And so the very first thing we're going to do is define the front plane, and I want the front plane to be right here. And so you're going to sketch your shape, sketch your hex shape on the front plane, and then extrude it to get that shape. And then you're going to, this plane that goes right through the middle of the part here, this is going to be the top plane. And so orient your hex head sketch such that the top plane goes right through the middle here. And then the last plane will be the right plane, which will go right through the middle of the part in the other direction. So the right plane will be this guy right here. So that'll be represented by that vertical line there. That'll be the right plane. So orient those planes correctly so that the part gets oriented correctly when you go to your ISO view. All right, the last thing we'll talk about is the length of the threaded portion of the bolt. And so you'll notice the data sheet calls for a range of thread lengths for the bolt, somewhere between 2 1/4 and 2 7/8 worth of threads. So when you buy this bolt for McMaster car under that part number, it might be 2 1/4 inches worth of threads, or it might be 2 7/8 worth of threads, or it might be anything in between. But when you make your CAD model, you have to only build one CAD model, and so we have to choose what I call the worst case scenario. In the worst case scenario, worst case scenario is defined as the shape of the part such that it will always result in a non-dangerous result. And the non-dangerous result has to do with this edge right here when it's assembled. When you put the fastener in the assembly, you're going to have 2 plates you're squeezing together. The top plate here is going to have a clearance hole, and the bolt is just going to pass through that clearance hole. And then the bottom plate is going to be threaded. This orange plate will be threaded, and it's going to thread into that bottom plate, You're going to continue to turn the screw into those threads until the head of the bolt sits flush on that top plate. What you don't want to have happen is the shank portion of the bolt will not be able to thread into that orange plate. And so you always want that shank to stop before you get to that threaded plate. And so that's going to be how you determine what length to make that thread in your model, such that you'll never have that situation in your assembly. So that should give you information to get started on the model. And so the next video we'll jump into SolidWorks and see how to create these three features to make your model.